Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtati. Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 30, Description of Adverse Fruitive Activities. Last verse in the purport, last verse in the chapter, verse number 34.
No, it's just too. It wasn't connected to the. There it is.
Adhastat Nara Lokasya Yavatir Yatanadaya Kramasa Samanukramya Punar Achavajek Chuchi Adhastan Lokasya Yavatir Yatanadaya Kramasa Samanukramya Punar Atravajek Chuchi Adhastan Naralokasya Yavatir Yatanadaya Kramasa Samanukramya Punar Atravajek Chuchi Adhastan Naralokasya Yavatir Yatanadaya Kramasa Samanukramya Punar Atravajek Chuchi. Please chant. Divyangi. Adhastat, from below. Naralokasya, human birth. Yavati, as many. Yatana, punishments. Adaya, and so on. Kramasa, in a regular order. Samanukramya, having gone through. Puna, again. Atra, here on this earth. Avrajet, he may return. Suchi, pure. Having gone through all miserable, hellish conditions, and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Just as a prisoner who has undergone troublesome prison life is set free again, the person who is always engaged in impious and mischievous activities is put into hellish conditions. And when he has undergone different hellish lives, namely those of lower animals like cats, dogs, and hogs, by the gradual process of evolution, he again comes back as a human being. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that even though a person engaged in the practice of the yoga system may not finish perfectly and may fall down for some reason or other, his next life as a human being is guaranteed. It is stated that such a person who has fallen from the path of yoga practice is given a chance in his next life to take birth in a very rich family or in a very pious family. It is interpreted that rich family refers to a big mercantile family because generally people who engage in trades and mercantile business are very rich. One who is engaged in the process of self-realization or connecting with the Supreme Absolute Truth but fell short is allowed to take birth in such a rich family, or he is allowed to take birth in the family of pious brahmanas. Either way, he is guaranteed to appear in human society in his next life. It can be concluded that if someone is not willing to enter into hellish life, as in Tamishra or Anda Tamishra, then he must take to the process of Krishna consciousness, which is the first-class yoga system. Because even if one is unable to attain complete Krishna consciousness in this life, he is guaranteed at least to take his next birth in a human family. He cannot be sent into a hellish condition. Krishna consciousness is the purest life, and it protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs and hogs. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 30th chapter of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, entitled Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru and Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vinamdam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pavijanam Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Madan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayadam Surito Bangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsar Vaspa Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalabi Savyamano Smarami Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Bata Tatasti Taha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Shriye Stuna Taptakanchana Gorangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatru Taptakanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Twice. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktamrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Adastan Naralokasya Yavatir Yatanadaya Kramasa Samanukramya Punar Archavajek Chuchi. Having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life, prior to human birth, and having been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. $8,400,000 species of life. One of the main points that Srila Prabhupada in his classes, lectures, and throughout his books is repeating again and again and again to wake us up in this very dark, dull, and ignorant Kali Yuga is the great risk, the great danger of missing this very rare human form of life. Narottam Das Thakur, he prays, Manusya Janma Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya. My dear Lord, I have wasted this most valuable human form of life. And why is he feeling he's wasted it? Because he's neglected to worship Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, which is the actual conclusion of everything, the ultimate goal, the Param Gati. And in this human form of life, and especially in this Kali Yuga, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the process how to worship Krishna and his internal potency in the most sublime and most, let's say, authorized way. What is that verse by Chaitanya, in the Chaitanya Chandramrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad? One who misses the opportunity to swim and float in the mellows of love of Godhead brought by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot be delivered for countless numbers of Mahakalpas. That means Satya, Treta, Dwarpa, Kali Yuga, 71 times, one day in a Brahma. And when Brahma goes to sleep, then again. So 71 cycles of the Yuga cycles through unlimited numbers. So here we just heard of the sinful man descending from the human form of life, falling from the human form of life, and now he's entering into the cycle of 8,400,000 species of life. Having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order. So what is that preaching point? Why are there so many different types of bodies and species of life? It's to facilitate combination of desire to enjoy the senses in a particular way, and also as a payback on karma, bad karma. In Prabhupada, he was seeing, all the poor cows and bulls in the slaughterhouses around Dallas, Texas, said they were all cow killers in their last life, and now it is their turn for what they have done. And it is very complicated, like even Srila Prabhupada said of the then President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson, because he was a big slaughterer of cows and bulls, and he became president. So he was the one to give the American people, who are themselves meat eaters, the opportunity to reap their karma, because their sons would have to be sent to Vietnam to be slaughtered for practically no reason. And that goes down in history as one of the most no-reason war there ever was. And there was such great opposition against it. And of course, the demons, they like to create war. That's part of their program. And they're so devious and calculating that they'll create a propaganda in the war that they will create, which is based on making money and gaining more power and influence for themselves, to make the people in general think that it's a righteous and just thing to fight for. Whereas actually it isn't. They're just fighting for as pawns in the game of the chess game of the demons. So Prabhupada in today's purport he chooses to use the main thrust of the purport to describe Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brasta Bijayate in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, how the yogi or the sincere spiritual practitioner may not be able to finish perfectly. It may fall down for some reason or another. We see how Prabhupada would deal with devotees who went away, fell down, as we use in our ISKCON terminology, whereas the contemporaries of such a person might be very hard and not very kind. Prabhupada was extraordinarily kind to that devotee to bring them back. Prabhupada wrote a whole purport in the 8th canto in the Gajendra Moksha Leela pastime for his beloved disciple Madhu Dweez, who joined in San Francisco and later went on to, in San Francisco, make the most successful and to date triumphant Rath Yatra in 1970. And devotees who witnessed Prabhupada's appreciation would even remember it as one of the most fondest memories of their life, even on their deathbed. Bahulasva Prabhu, if you look at Prabhupada memories, it's not his memory, but he's remembering because he witnessed that Prabhupada is departing after the Rath Yatra, and he's sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle. The door is open, and Madhu Dweez Prabhu comes and kneels at the car and asked Prabhupada this question: Prabhupada, how did you like it? And Prabhupada just said, I loved it. Actually, he got out, embraced Madhu Dweeza, and it was very rare that Prabhupada would use his body in physical touch with others. In this case, he did. Other times that are prominent is when Brahmananda and Gargamuni returned from Pakistan and East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, when the newspapers were saying 4 Hare Krishna missionaries shot dead in Pakistan. And Prabhupada was so overcome with worry and anxiety, and when they actually appeared miraculously, he got up and just was like embracing them, touching them, and feeling them all over, that you've come back from death, my beloved disciples. And also interesting in their case to keep in mind, particularly Brahmananda, just 1 year earlier, he was involved in an unfortunate controversy or intrigue. We won't go into the details, but it was such that Prabhupada had to, for the time being, banish him and the others from ISKCON because of the controversy. So Prabhupada, he never would hold a grudge. Devotee never holds a grudge, that if whatever it is, it's corrected and everything is set right, forget about it, move forward, and let's move on. And it would never be referred to again, rub it in the person's face, like that. So how powerful, and why does Srila Prabhupada, why is the pure devotee like this? Because he's in touch with Krishna's mercy, and he knows, and also because he is the one to distribute Krishna's mercy. Narada, he can hand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like you go into the mercantile shop or the store, and the storekeeper hands you the product, puts it right in your hand. Prabhupada had his heart attack here in New York, Memorial Day weekend, 1967, and he instructed all the devotees to make a simple prayer. My dear Lord Krishna, our master has not yet finished his work. And at that time, he introduced the chanting of the Nrsingadev prayers. And the devotees, and they had 24-hour kirtan, perhaps the first one in ISKCON, in the 2 temples of ISKCON, San Francisco and here in New York. And all the devotees felt like in the middle of the night, like this type of like relief and like bursting through to like a new and auspicious dimension. And they all understood that Prabhupada has made it through, he'll make it through. And Prabhupada afterwards, reviewing and describing, he said this: Krishna wanted to take me back to Godhead. He wanted to take me back home. But he said, I was saying to Krishna, so many devotees are praying on my behalf. And Prabhupada reveals this is just amazing. What did Krishna say to Prabhupada? All right, stay and do your nonsense. As if whatever Prabhupada did from 1967 for the next 10 years was nonsense. Who can understand? So the pure devotee, just like if you have a very good defense lawyer, you don't even have to testify. Just remain silent. He will get you, anyway, mundane example, but he will get you vindication. So the pure devotee, our spiritual master, is standing between us and the judgment of Yamaraj. There's the amazing story of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, his disciple from Assam, who he wanted to be a sincere devotee. He was initiated, but his family was not favorable. He was one of the last disciples initiated towards the end of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's presence in this world. So by and by he fell back into his old ways, not following the regular principles, not chanting. His family, friends pulled him back, took him away from the association of his god brothers. The time of death seemingly came for him. Keep in mind this word, seemingly. The Yamadutas come for him, just like it's described here. They're dragging him along the road. He's dying of thirst. He begs them for water. They show him a pond. Here you may drink. The pond is filled with stool, urine, blood, bones, mucus. Disgusting. How can I drink this? This is all that is available in hell for those who are sinful. Dragging him on. And he reaches the court of Yamaraj, and there he finds himself standing in a long line, and other sinful persons in front of him are going before Yamaraj, and Chitragupta is taking out the account book. Immediately taken to hell. Then his turn comes. And Yamaraj immediately addresses him. Yamaraj, the procedure was Chitragupta says, boom, 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 this, that, the other thing for all these people. So Yamaraj immediately, first thing, have you ever done even one good pious deed in your entire life? And he immediately cries out, I'm initiated by Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Immediately Yamaraj pays obeisances, and immediately Srila Bhakti Siddhanta appears there in the court of Yamaraj. And Srila Bhakti and Yamaraj, like he's the supreme judge. He turns over. It's like, can you imagine there's one judge in the courtroom, and such a personality appears. Says, and just, he gets off the bench and, okay, you're the judge. He says, Yamaraj says, please tell me now what is to be done. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, without even addressing Yamaraj, he starts berating and chastising his disciple. Why did you fall down? Why did you give up the regular principles? Why did you, and the disciple is just like crying and begging for forgiveness. So then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta orders him, you go back down to the earth planet and you seek out one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's very powerful disciples. His name was Hayagriva Das Brahmachari, later initiated into sannyas as Madhava Maharaj. So he was preaching in the area where he came from. And you take shelter of him and remain in his company exclusively and follow all of his instructions for the rest of your life. Seemingly passed away. He wakes up from his death-like coma. He is lying on the logs in the cremation ground, just moments before the fire is to be lit. And when he comes to his senses, he's shouting at the top of his lungs, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Everyone is just like, wow, like dumbfounded. He just immediately left. He didn't go seek out his family, give out any explanation, and went to Srila Bhakti, to Madhava Maharaj, found him, and started telling the story. And Madhava Maharaj stops him, says, you do not have to go further. I know everything. I've already been informed. So, how powerful is the decision of the devotee, the mercy of the devotee. So, Srila Prabhupada said, I have created your good fortune. One who thinks he can repay the debt to the spiritual master is considered a joker. The Prithu Maharaj to the four Kumaras. How can such persons who have revealed the path of the absolute truth with all explanation for our understanding be repaid except with folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? It's impossible to repay, but we have to try to repay it forever. We are debtors. And what does Prabhupada ask us to do? Make others fortunate. Such a terrible age that we're living in. There's the story of the devotees in Montreal in 1969. John Lennon invited them to the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, a very high-class hotel, where they were having a bed-in for peace. Bed-in for, it's a hippie 60s thing, you know, bed-in. You know, human be in, and the bed-in. You know, we're going to sleep in bed until you stop the war in Vietnam, all right? Anyway. And they had all famous people from the time. Now, one famous person in particular, Timothy Leary, he was the one who started this whole LSD thing. Everybody looked up to him. So just to give an idea of why I'm telling this story, of why this Kali Yuga is so, people who we think are leaders and you know, symptoms of Kali Yuga, that which is very, very sinful will be promoted as that which is very, very desirable. So the devotees came, you know, John Lennon, he had known the devotees. Yeah, bring them all up, you know, we want to make a record. All we are saying and chanting Hare Krishna, you know. And so they came with prasadam, and they were handing it out to everybody in the room, all the celebrities, Smothers Brothers, and they were a comedy act back in the day, and all the sound technicians. And there's Timothy Leary, and they hand him a samosa. And Timothy Leary goes, what's this? It's prasadam. It's Krishna prasadam. If you eat it, you're guaranteed to be not to become an animal, but to be a human being in your next life. So what did this like seemingly highly praiseworthy, famous Timothy Leary do and say? He threw the samosa on the ground and said, I want to be a dog in my next life. So, you know, like somebody's in danger and you want to come rescue them. No, I want to fall off the roof. I want to burn to death in the fire. Leave me alone. This is Kali Yuga. So therefore, the holy name, sometimes we see people try to block out their ears, but even, you know, if there's a big loud noise, you cover your ears, still the sound comes in, you know. The devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. So what to speak of saving people from hell, but try to understand the potency of the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotional service that we're distributing. Our duty, especially here in New York City, is to do it as quantitatively as possible. But rest assured, that quantity, okay, we're giving something out, but then the quality is watered down, right? Like in India, the milk, we're going to put more water in it, make more money, some type of cheating. But there's no cheating in what's in the fruit of love of Godhead being distributed. The quality is on the superlative platform. So as disciples of the great Paramahamsa, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, as his disciplic followers, we should come to understand the potency of the astra, the weapons. So we're going to hear, today is the appearance day of Lord Parshuram, and his duty was to kill the miscreant demons who were posing as Kshatriyas. Pretty bloody mess. So we're not doing that in Kali Yuga, but the killing is going on, no doubt, but more accurately and even more foolproof. Everyone will swim and float in Lord Chaitanya's ocean of love of Godhead. Everyone. No one can escape. Like in wartime, some people can escape. Or some crazy mass shooter goes into the school or something, Some people will die, but some people will escape. So we're not killing the person, we're killing the demoniac mentality. So we should, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, as Srila Prabhupada has done that so masterfully, we should understand his potency. Most empowered personality. No one can come close. No one has come close. No one ever will come as close. Most empowered personality. So we could speak on and on this particular subject matter and this verse, but because it is Akshaya Tritya, and it is already 8:45 in the morning, and it's my unfortunate proclivity to not manage time on these days, we'll try our level best. It'd be nice if it was a fast day, then I could cheat and go past 9 o'clock. I put the bookmark here. Okay, there it is. With the blood of the bodies of these Kshatriyas, Lord Parshuram created a ghastly river which brought great fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahminical culture. Because the Kshatriyas, the men of power and government, were performing sinful activities, Lord Parshuram, on the plea of retaliating for the murder of his father, rid all the Kshatriyas from the face of the earth 21 times. Indeed, in the place known as Samanta Pachaka, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. Purport: Parshuram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his eternal mission is Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Traduskritam. It's an eternal mission. Paritranaya sadhunam. Vinashayat. To kill all the sinful men is one among the tasks of the incarnation of Godhead. Do you people work? Yes. We're working for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adi Prabhu, who's been so dedicatedly doing the Food for Life out at Tompkins Square Park for many, many years, he tells a story about his mother when he first joined, why don't you get a job, what are you doing this Hare Krishna? He goes, Mom, I'm working for God. God will never go out of business. The eternal occupation. Lord Parshuram killed all the Kshatriyas 21 times consecutively because they were disobedient to the Brahminical culture. That the Kshatriyas had killed his father was only a plea. The real fact is that because the Kshatriyas, the ruling class, had become polluted, their position was inauspicious. Brahminical culture is enjoined in the Shastra, especially in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnya Mayashristam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. According to the laws of nature, whether at the time of Parshuram or at the present, if the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahminical culture, there will certainly be an incarnation of God like Parshuram to create a devastation of fire, famine, and pestilence or some other calamity. Whether the government disrespects the supremacy, whenever, and fails to protect of the personality of Godhead and fails to protect the institution of Varnashram Dharma, it will certainly have to face such catastrophes as formerly brought about by Lord Parshuram. In Kali Yuga, however, there is a great concession given to the people in general. Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedasaha. We may worship Lord Chaitanya, the hidden incarnation of Krishna, Krishna Varnam Tisa Krishnam. Although he is Krishna himself, he always chants Hare Krishna and preaches Krishna consciousness. One is recommended to worship this incarnation by chanting the Sankirtan Yagna. The performance of Sankirtan Yagna is a special concession for human society to save people from being affected by known or unknown sinful activities. We are surrounded by unlimited sins, and therefore it is compulsory that one take to Krishna consciousness and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Today, Akshaya Tritya marks the beginning of Tritya Yuga, when the mind, intelligence, and senses are solidly fixed in the mode of goodness. That time should be understood as Satya Yuga, the age of truth. We're reading from the Bhumi Gita, chapter 3 of the 12th canto. People then take pleasure in knowledge and austerity. O most intelligent one, when the conditioned souls are devoted to their duties, but have ulterior motives and seek personal prestige, you should understand such a situation to be the age of Treta, in which the functions of passion are prominent. Dwapara Yuga, just for reference. When greed, dissatisfaction, false pride, hypocrisy, and envy become prominent, along with attraction for selfish activities, such a time is the age of Dwapara, dominated by the mixed modes of passion and ignorance. When there is a predominance of cheating, lying, sloth, sleepiness, violence, depression, lamentation, bewilderment, fear, and poverty, the age of Kali, that age is Kali, the age of the mode of ignorance. Then the full-blown description of the age of Kali Yuga is given. In Treta Yuga, people are devoted to ritual performances and severe austerities. They are not excessively violent or very lusty after sensual pleasure. Their interest lies primarily in religiosity, economic development, and regulated sense gratification. And they achieve prosperity by following the prescriptions of the 3 Vedas. Although in this age society evolves into 4 separate classes, O king. Most persons are Brahmins. So, this wonderful pastime, which we're about to look at, happened on this day. And Srila Prabhupada himself said of his first canto, I have put everything into the first canto. Where did I put? Okay. So this is a very beautiful telling of this story by Srila Prabhupada himself. So this is the Pandavas retire timely. This is the conversation between Maharaj Yudhishthira and Arjuna. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. So this is the Akshaya Patra of Draupadi. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were satisfied. Durvasa Muni, when he is satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kunti Devi, at her father's house, used to minister all kinds of services to great Brahmins, and being satisfied with her good reception, Durvasa Muni benedicted her with the power to call any demigod she desired. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could either easily be satisfied or annoyed. Okay, many things about him. So he had about 10,000 disciples. Wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by a number of followers. So we see in the story of Maharaj Ambarish that he knew Vedic etiquette, Durvasa Muni, and out of envy for Maharaj Ambarish, he purposely came there after he was just about to complete a very long and arduous Ekadasi brat, fasting for many days. And there was only enough food cooked just to satisfy Durvasa Muni. And that he came right at the time and at noon, and he has to go take his ritualistic bath, and that would cause the Muhurta for the Ekadasi to pass into Dwadasi, and would create a discrepancy for Maharaj Ambarish, his following of the vow, and would force him to make a decision that he would have to eat. And then he would come back according to his plan and curse him and chastise him for not following the rules of Vedic etiquette. Even he made the decision to drink water, and he's chastising him. Just see the behavior of this cruel man. He has taken his meals. I am his invited guest, and he has taken his meals he just drank a sip of water. And the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu came and, let's say, helped him to regain and clarify his good intelligence. So here, now he didn't think to cause this mischief himself, but the Pandava's most dear beloved cousin brother, Duryodhan, hatched this terrible scheme. Once he visited the house of Duryodhan, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Duryodhan was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmin by all means, and the great Rishi wanted to give him some benediction. Duryodhan knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahmin, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc, and thus he designed to engage the Brahmanas to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhan, the later wished that he should visit the house of Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief amongst all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with Queen Draupadi. That's the time that you go. Duryodhana knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthira to receive such a large number of Brahmin guests, and thus the rishi would become annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin, Maharaj Yudhishthira. Isn't that such a wonderful way to be thinking? That's good thinking, isn't it? That was the plan of Duryodhana. Durvasa Muni agreed to from his side, okay, doesn't speak very highly for either of them. And he approached the king in exile according to the plan of Duryodhana after the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. On his arrival at the door, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was at once well received, and the king requested him to finish his noontime religious rites in the river, and by that time the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasa Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaj Yudhishthira was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could not be served to any number of guests, but the rishi, by the plan of Duryodhana, reached there after Draupadi had finished her meals. When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said that to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any amount of food if she herself had not eaten. But on that day she had already taken her meals, and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulty, she began to cry before the Lord. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuff left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetable sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvasa. So, not that an unlimited supply of food manifested immediately and automatically, but something even more far out. Check this out. Bhishma was sent to call them from the river. Bhima said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed, even while they were in the river. They thought that since Maharaj Yudhishthira must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry, so it was better not to go there. Thus, they decided to go away. Bye-bye. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshvar. Wherever there is Krishna, Yogeshvar, the master of all mystics. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service. So we have 1 minute. Chandan Yatra starts on this day. Actually, this is the day that Srila Vyasadeva started dictating the Vedas to Ganesh, who wrote them down. So this is to start any auspicious occasion, to start any devotional, spiritual, or beneficial activity on this day. It is recommended. This is very nice, but of course, for devotees, every day, every moment, no matter what, winter, spring, summer, or fall, is auspicious. It's not that one time is better than another, because devotional service to Lord Krishna, anytime, anywhere, any place, is the last word in considering auspiciousness. Akshaya Tritya day is the very auspicious day. There is no inauspiciousness to be found today, so even checking muhurtas is considered unnecessary. So auspicious it is. Whatever one does for devotees and for Krishna, that person will get more benefit, and his eternal benefit is never lost. So Prabhupada describes in relation to Kartik Brat, which we can see parallel here, is that the supermarket has loyal shoppers. Say like here, we live right next door to Whole Food, a block away, or Trader Joe's, whereas really it's the only two supermarkets in walking distance. So we're going to shop there. We're loyal, because, but for some people, if there's a big sale, of course Whole Foods is like insanely overpriced. Anyway, people will go there. So the loyal customers, they go to the supermarket of pure devotional service every day. They don't need a sale to go there. They'll pay the price, whatever it is. They won't go to any other store. The anniversary of the passing of Sri Vijayadvaj Tirtha, the sixth in the lineage of Madhvacharya. He is the famous commentary upon the Śrimad Bhāgavatam. He lived in the 15th century. So many things. Also, there's a very wonderful story of how Pavan Sarovar got its name near Nandagram in Vrindavan. And I will recommend and direct everyone to look at Giriraj Swami's website, and he tells the story in nice detail. So this is a very auspicious day, Akshaya Tritya. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribol. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.